the selection tools are in this first section of the toolbar up here. First, the rectangular marquee or the elliptical marquee will select those shapes. You can use the same drawing rules that you use in other apps, such as keeping Shift down or using the space bar to move to select objects. This may be appropriate when you want to copy part of an image over to another image for a composite piece. Next are the Lasso Tools. The Lasso Tool selects free-form areas of the image. So very free-form. I'll deselect. The polygonal lasso selects areas and is very useful for straight edges. The magnetic lasso, the border snaps to the edges of defined areas. So if you have high contrast, this can be a nice choice. The first tool is the selection brush tool. This will allow you to brush over areas that you want to select, and that selection is coming in hot pink. From there, you can do things like generative fill, add or subtract shapes, or add other effects. Next, we'll begin with the magic wand. The magic wand selects areas based on color. You can see it's pretty specific with its color choices. You can change the tolerance of that to get even more specific changes, and you can select if that would be contiguous or not. When you choose an area with the magic wand tool, Photoshop selects those color areas, so it really works best when you have clear color with not a lot of tonal variety. Next is our quick selection tool. When you choose an area with this, Photoshop goes ahead and selects the edges, so you don't have to trace them manually. This is really good for photos with high contrast and well-defined edges. You can still bring in keyboard shortcuts to create a more specific selection. So here I'm holding down the Option key, Alt on a PC, and subtracting areas. I can also hold down the Shift key and add selection areas. Next, we have our Object Selection tool. The Object Selection tool is going to simplify the process, and all you need to do is kind of hover on these to get the selection. You may have noticed when the photo opened up, this was rotating, and that is refreshing the object finder. So it's using Adobe's artificial intelligence to figure out that these are all different shapes. So not only can I use this what's called hover select and get that hot pink, but I can also just marquee over an object and it'll figure out what I want. This is a really good way to spend less time getting really specific selections. And these tools are all really good starting points to get excellent cutouts. Let's look at another way we can use this object selection to really get more precise about an image. So it's finding objects in my image, and I'm going to go to my control bar, and you can see I can select specific people. So let's select these folks right here, and I'm going to more specifically select their t-shirts. When I apply that selection, you can see I have a marquee over those top of their outfits, and now I can apply any changes I want to them. And if we drop back into that menu, you can see that we can add from those selections and continue to make changes. This can be really good ways to make specific changes in a photo that has a lot of different people or a lot of different objects. And finally, let's look at a photo like this where we might want to cut it out, but we have some curly hair. So we're going to start with our object selection tool and we're going to select subject. Now this has really came a long way and you can see it's really doing a good job. Now there may be some areas up here that I want to get a more specific selection. That's when I want to go into my select and mask. When you do this, you're not leaving Photoshop, but you are opening your select and mask workspace. So the first thing I like to do is come over here and choose how I want to view things. And so just pick whatever option makes the most sense to you. I'm a big fan of the overlay. You can change that color if you would like to, depending on your photo. Along the left-hand side, you see we have a toolbar. So we have a quick selection. That's exactly like the quick selection we looked at before. Selects on color, texture similarity. Next is the Refine Edge Brush tool, and that's the tool that's really, really good for things like hair. So I can brush additional selections in or subtract them out using that tool. So just refining these a little bit more is going to give me an excellent selection. Next is the brush tool. This is going to allow you to fine-tune any of the selection with the addition and subtraction, just like we did before. You can use your left and right bracket to change the size of that brush as well. The object selection and lasso work exactly the same as they do in Photoshop. Next, you can use both the hand tool and the zoom tool to navigate around the image. Going back to our right panel, a couple of settings that we may want to get into a little bit more. I'm going to open up my refine mode. And so in my refine mode, I want to choose color aware, and that's for simple backgrounds, and object aware for hair. So let's see what changes it makes if we get into object aware. Well, you can see I've got some of those additional things that I might want to add into the selection here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go in with my refine brush on this. Add that a little bit in. And we can also use that refine hair button. So that's giving us a really excellent selection in there. So you can see that these two modes give you kind of different selections. So those are worth playing around with. Next is edge detection. This determines the size of the selection border. So we want to use a small radius for sharp edges and use a large one for softer edges. And you can see there's a little bit of tweaking there, giving us some different selections. Global refinement, the smooth reduces irregular areas in the selection border. And that creates a smoother outline. So just a little bit of that. Feather blurs the transition that you have between the selection and the pixels. Contrast means basically the opposite. It's going to change those soft edges transitions into something more abrupt. Typically, you want to stick with that smart radius and refinement tools instead. That soft edge will move inward with the negative values and outward with positive ones. Shifting those borders in can help move kind of like that color effect that you get on the edge of selections. Finally, select decontaminate colors, and then you can choose your output. In this case, we're going to do a new layer with a layer mask. And you can see we have a really, really good selection there. Getting into her hair up there as well. So hopefully that gives you some ideas about how and when to use the variety of selection tools available in Photoshop so that you can really perfect your cutout photos or your Photoshop composites.